Hello there. So I wanted to add a new series to my channel. So in this series we'll be building a MERN application with TypeScript. This application will help you to go from a beginner to an intermediate level, as we'll be covering subjects such as state management and TypeScript. So let me demonstrate how the application works. So you can create new categories. Let's just say science, and I can view the category. I can change the name to say programmers, and if I change the title, it changes. It's a complete CRUD application, and I can add new contacts, say dev, phone number, and I can give a description saying, let's say frontend, and I can add it. I can also delete each contacts as well. So I'll delete this one, and if I go back, each categories has number of contacts. How many contacts are there in each categories? So in this there are 4, as you can see here. This there are 2, and in these there are zeros. So this is what we'll be building. Hope you guys enjoy. Now let's move on to the stack which we'll be using. So for the front end we'll be using React. We'll be using context API for state management. That is why it is not a beginner project, but people who are beginners also can follow this. We'll be using Tailwind CSS for the styling. Don't worry if you don't know how to use Tailwind CSS. We'll be going through that step by step. We'll be using Typescript for type safety. We'll be using Vite as a tooling for creating all the packages for the front end, and for the back end we'll be using Express.js, Mongoose for the ORM, TypeScript for the type safety, Node.js, and for the database we'll be using MongoDB Atla. We'll also be following some best practices while coding. We'll be using thunderclient for testing out our endpoints, and we will be using environment variables for saving ourselves from malicious users. So I have divided this series into parts instead of a long format, as I think that is more digestible and easier to understand. So hope you guys enjoy. So let's get started. So to start off, let's go to the desired directory. So in my case it is YouTube, and create a directory here called phone book YT, and we'll cd into it, phone book YT. Yep. Now let's open VS Code. Okay. So until then, let's go to. So in this case, we'll be using Vite for the front end. So Vite and say React. Okay, let me open the terminal. Getting started. Let's copy out this line, paste here. So for the project name, let's call it client. We'll be using React with TypeScript. Okay, so let's cd into the client, and let's install the dependencies npm i. Let's open it and see. Okay, it's working. Now just let's run it and see whether everything works. Okay, let's go into this. Okay, it's working. So next, let's download Tailwind CSS for the styling. Tailwind CSS, and let's call it Vite. Install, yeah, this one. Just copy out these 2 lines. I'll stop the server, paste it. enter. Once that is done, it should give us a tsconfig file for Tailwind. Yeah. Then what you do is you copy out this line and paste it here. Save that, and then we'll have to go to source, and inside index CSS it's mentioned here. So here, copy this out. I'll cancel this and paste this here. I think once that's done, everything's ready. So then let's go to app.tsx and just cut out all this. Don't need that. And class name also, I'll cut that out. We don't need this. We don't need app.css. We need that as well. Now just to check, let's see whether Tailwind is working. So class name text red 500. We'll be going through what this is and how it works. Then let's run the server. Okay. Sorry, it's npm run dev, not server. Let's go to this. Okay, it's working, as you can see here. So next, let's create a folder for the server. So not here. Let's create a folder called server, and just cut out this for now. We'll go to server, and let's go and install Express. So if I go to npm express, and I'll just paste that here. It should create a package.json file. Oh, sorry. First, you'll have to actually initiate the package.json file. So npm, let's delete this first. Sorry about that. We have to first initiate the package.json file. So npm init. This creates a package.json file. So just click enter. So this is the heart of this folder. All the dependencies is downloaded here. So once this is done, we install Express. Okay, that's done. Let's create a new folder called source, and inside the source, let's create a new file called index.ts. So as we'll be using Typescript, we'll have to install another dependency, which is npm i -- save dev ts node. So this basically transpiles the TypeScript code to JavaScript code. So if you go here, it's there in the development dependency. So I prefixed it with the save dev because we don't need this in the development environment and not in the production environment. Only while developing we need this ts node. That's why I prefixed it with save dev. Okay, so once that's done, we need another file. Let's install another dependency called node.js. So this basically allows us to hot reload the server every time we make changes to it. So in order to do that, we go here. You have to install npm install node.js. So, and this is also as a development dependency. Okay, that's done. Next, you'll have to configure the script. So call it dev. You can name it whatever you want, but I like naming it as dev. So let's just copy this and paste this here. Okay, you can just backslash these double quotes. You're not allowed to have double quotes, so backslash another one I need. Okay. Yeah, that's done. So once that's done, let's go to index.ts file and let's just copy this out and paste it here. So since we will be using ES6, so we'll write this in ES6 manner. So that is import express as express, and because we are using TypeScript, we'll have to install the typings as well. So if you just hover here, you can copy out this line, copy that out and paste it here. Then these errors should go away. Okay, just give it some time. Yeah, it's gone. So now if I run the server, it should work. Let's see. Okay, let's see what the problem is. Okay, I always mess this up. It's npm run dev, not server. Okay, so we have an error here, unexpected here while for match. Okay, probably this right here. We did something wrong here. So let's see what the mistake was. There's another double quote. Let's try that and see what happens. npm run dev. Yeah, now it's working. So now if I go to this endpoint here, so we didn't mention the port. Okay, we've mentioned it here. Let's just try going there and see whether it's working. So http/localhost 3000. Okay. So for now, what will do is yeah. So our server is working properly. So next, what we'll do is let's install. We'll get Mongoose connected. So let's go to Mongoose npm. You can cut this. You can cut this now for now. No need. We'll install npm install Mongoose. It's a funny name. Then we'll copy this out, the ES6 manner of importing Mongoose. Okay, save that, and we'll have to connect the Mongoose. So as of now, this will have to change. So don't need this. Okay, next let's go head over to the database. So in our case, we'll be using Mongo Atla here. It might ask you to register, so let's sign up. Just try for free. So I'll sign up. So in my case, since I'm already have an account, it redirected me to this page. So in your case, you'll have to maybe register. You'll have three tiers. Just click on the free tier one, then you'll be led to this page. So then what we'll do is we'll build a database. Okay, so it's the same page. So then create, we'll use the free tier, and I'll leave all this at the default settings. Okay, once that's done, just give a username. So I'll just give it as test user for now. We'll give the password and create a user. Create user. Okay, and test user 2. So that's done. Then we'll head over to database. Now next we'll create a database. Yeah, we'll leave it at the default. Okay, no, not this. Let's go back and connect. Yeah, it's already, the cluster is already there, so connect. So in our case, it's an application. We're using Node.js, the latest version, and this is the URL which we'll be using to connect here. So copy this out, and you can close this. So once that's done, you paste it out here. Paste it here, and you'll have to change the name as well. So for us, it is, let's say the username was test user 2, and the password was admin. You'd ideally give a more secure password. Okay, so once that's done, once this is done, what we'll do is we will call a callback function. This is just for the development, when we are developing, for us to know whether it's connected. That is why we are console logging it. So let's just say connected, and I will call it port. So this port will be const port 3000. Okay, so once that's done, we'll listen to app.listen port. So we listen to it only after the connection is made, because we don't want the server to be called when the connection is not made. So that is why we put it inside a callback function. So once the database is connected, we listen to this port. So let's try running it. It should be connected, the message connected should, yeah, so now it's working, the server. So next what we'll do is, whenever we have such a important, like private line of code like this credential, we don't want this to appear in the client side. We have to hide these kind of values. So in order to do that, what you do is you put it in a file called .env. This is hidden from the client. Once that is done, in this file you call mongo URL. Inside this, we'll paste it here. This one, we copy that out and paste it out here. So once that's done, so now we need a way to take that data from here and put it here. So for that you'll need, 1 second. So for that you'll need another dependency called .env. So let's just go npmi.env. So once that's done, I'll install it. I'll exit the server for now, paste it here. Okay, so it's done. And if I scroll down and see, we need this line, these two lines, and paste it here. Okay, so that's done. So now we'll be able to use it. So now if you want to load the data from here and insert it here, what you do is just type process .env .mongo URL, the name of the variable which we give. So now it's giving me an error because of Typescript, so I just give it an exclamatory. So this basically says this line of string cannot be undefined. It is always has a value. So once I save that and I run the server again, okay, again I'm making the same mistakes. npm run dev. If everything worked correctly, it should give me a message. Now it's connected, and the string also, we've hidden it from the user. So ideally we want this port as well to be hidden. So for that, what we'll do is we create another variable called port. No, this should not be, okay, this should not be in double quotes. It should be, yeah. Now I'll just give it as port 3000. So if you're deploying the project, you'll have to change the name of this to the site which you're deploying it to. So right now it's port 3000 because we are in the development phase. I just give as process dot env dot port, and it'll be undefined. Sorry, it won't be undefined. If I save this, it should get connected again. Okay, it's correct. And if I go to this endpoint, everything should work properly. So http local 3000, it's working. So everything is working properly. So with this, we've configured all the dependencies which we'll be needing. Next, we'll start building the endpoints. So hello there guys. So today let's pick off from the place where we stopped last week. So before starting, last week I forgot to add another file called gitignore. So just go to your server and type .gitignore. So this file basically allows, whenever you push, make changes to your code base here and you push to GitHub, in this file, whatever the files which are mentioned here, those will be ignored. So usually we don't want node modules to be pushed, so we'll type here node modules, and we don't need .env also. Save this and close it. So this allows us to ignore these two files. In .env, all our sensitive data will be stored, and node modules is a huge file. We don't want to push all of this. This should be pushed, this should be run by the server, not by the client. So you push this also in the .env file. You put the name .env file here also. So next what I'll do is, in order to as you can see here, whenever I run the server, I get this message. So I don't want that. So for that, you just type mongoose.set strict query, yeah, and false. Save that. And also I changed this port to 5001 because that's usually we use 8000 or 5000 or 3000. So I changed this to 5000 here. Then next what we'll do is, let us start off by making a creating a deck. No, we'll start off by creating a models for our schema. So under source directory, make another folder called model, and we'll create a file called let's say phonebook.ts. Okay, so here we'll import mongoose, okay, and we'll also destructure schema from mongoose. This will be used to design our mongoose database. I like to think of schema as tables. So in our case, we'll have two fields called category and contacts. So let's create it, phone book, new schema. Okay, and let's call category will be of type string, and contacts will be of type array, which has objects name, string, and description, string, number, which should also be a string. This will be our contact info. Okay, I save that, and we'll need to export this so that other files can read it. We'll also have to register it as a model, so phone book model, and I'll make this capital, mongoose dot models. We have to give it a name, so I'll name it as phone book, and also schema you'll have to put, so phone book. Okay, you could do this in a separate, you could separately do it, but I've done it in one line. Let's save that. Now let us create a post for actually creating that category. So if you want to create a post, what you do is you make a post request. If you want to get a request, you do a get request, and if you want to update, you do put request. So for now we'll do post, as we have to add new data. We'll go through get and put later, so we'll make that in the home page function request. Okay, so when we are using TypeScript, we could also define a type for this. So say request. This will give us a nice IntelliSense whenever we type rec or response. I'll show that. Response from Express. See, if I type rec dot, I get all this option. This is because I mentioned the type here. Okay, so now let us create a new model. So for that, let us create a constant called new category. Okay, I'll just make this error, and new phone book. This we are basically importing, we are creating a new object. So new phone book model, and it has a field called category, and let's say hello, and we'll also have to save this. And if we are saving it, we need actually, okay, we'll have to change this. We'll need to give it a async function. We have to mention that. So, and I'll also change this to ES6 version. I'm used to ES6, so let's make that. Okay, fine, async. So now this is a mongoose kind of thing, so you have to always save when you push new data. So new category dot save. and I'll save this. Then I'll also give a JSON response of new category, and if it's successful, I also want a status of 200. So whenever a request is successful, you give a code of 200. If it's not successful, you could give it a 400. There are many numbers for that. You could go and look it up in the docs. So let's save this, and we'll also run this. Let's say npm run dev. I should be getting a message saying connected. If not, okay, it's getting connected. So in order to check this endpoint whether it's working, VS Code has this nice little extension called thunderclient. So if you go to extensions here and just type thunderclient, you could also be using Postman, but I like using thunderclient because it's embedded to VS Code. So yeah, this one. If you install it, it'll just appear here. So let's go to thunderclient. Let's click here. This is one of my previous ones. Okay, so it'll be in port 5001, and I'll just okay. And it's a post request. For now I'll send that and see what happens. Okay, so it's created one hello for me. Now if I go back to Atla database and I'll reload this. Okay, so it's created a new data table for me, phone book, and it also has a message hello, which I mentioned. Here, not here, hello. But we don't want it to be just one string. We need this, whatever the user mentions in the front end, that should be what saved to the new category, right? So for that, what we do is the request object here contains a method called body. So from the client, we could make a post request, and we could attach that data to the request.body. So that's what we're doing here. So let us first destructure the body. So it'll be called category from request.body. Okay, so this category comes from the body and we destructure it. You could also do something like rec.body.category. This also works fine, but I like destructuring, that's why I'll go with that. I destructure category and I attach category here. Category. Okay, and I save that. Now let us go back to thunderclient, and if you go to the body here and just create a JSON file, a JSON object called category, and okay, this also should be in double quotes. Okay, and I say hello from thunderclient, and I save that, and I make another post request. Okay, so we got an error. Let's see what that says. Rec.body. Okay, so this is because whenever we use Express, it comes with the bare bones features. So in order to mention that, in order to allow JSON objects to be passed in Express, you'll have to explicitly mention that. So in order to explicitly mention, what I do is app.use, and I just type express.json. So this tells Express that JSON can be used, JSON objects can be utilized. So now let us check again. I send it, and I get that message, hello from thunderclient. If I go back to my Mongo Atla, I'll expand this, and this should be a refresh one. Yeah, refresh it. It comes up here. Okay, that's good. Hello from thunderclient. So that's working. This endpoint is working. So for this project, we'll be following agile approach. So we'll build one endpoint. We'll build one endpoint, and then we'll go in the client side of things and build the client interface for that. So now, since we've created the post method, we'll make a UI in the client side. So let's go to the client. Let's go to source app.tsx. I've already discarded all that. Let me make a new instance here. Seed into client, npm run dev. Once it's running, I'll go to this port. Let's see what comes up here. Okay, hello. That's good. Let me clear all this up. We don't need that. Index.css. Okay, we don't need this file actually. Move it to trash. app.tsx. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay then. So let's make a new folder called components here. Components, and let's make a new file inside that called, let's say, add category. Category.tsx. Okay, and RAFC. So I've got this extension called React Redux snippets. This one. If you install this, you will get all this short forms for writing all this boilerplate code. So I've created a new component called add categories, and I'll import it here. We don't need this right now. Add category, import that, and save this. Okay, so it's come here. So let's start by building the UI here. So this will be a div. Inside the div we'll have a form. We don't need actions, and inside the form we'll have that image which we saw, image, and in image we'll also have a header called contact book. Okay, and we'll have another div for the input, and we'll need a button also. Button called add category. Let's see how it looks. Okay, contact. Okay, fine. Just come up here. Next, what we'll do is, okay, for now that's enough. We'll just style this a little bit. So let me think how I'll progress. Let's go to index.css. For the body, I'll put a background color of hash 2f 2f 2f. I think that's the color. Save that. What if I do 2 again? So it's 2f 2f 2f. That's fine. Now let's go back here. We'll start coloring it off. So class name. So I want the max width of 5 pixel. Okay, so it'll always be of this. So 5 pixel is basically, if you hover here, max width of 64 rem, which is 1024 pixel. It'll never go more than this. That is what we are saying here. And in order to get that IntelliSense, whenever you're coding Tailwind, there's another extension for that called Tailwind IntelliSense. I think it should be somewhere here. Okay, it's here, this one. So whenever you're using Tailwind CSS, I highly recommend this one. So this gives you that pop-up for all the classes, utility classes which are available. So yeah, so I'm using that. So max w5xl, so it never goes beyond 1024 pixels. So now we want it to be centered. So for that, what you can do is mx auto. If you just type that, it centers it out. So if I expand this, it always centers it. There's always an equal margin on the left and right side. So that's what that class does, mx auto. So next what we'll do is let's make a class name here. Class name space, no, I'll go inside first. So for this image, let's go to Google and just take an image. Images. For now, this one is fine. I might change this later on. Just for now, let me copy this. I'll change this later. You guys can check the repository which I'll be linking down. You can just take the link from there. So just for now, I'll just save this. Let's see how it comes up. Okay, that's fine. Let's style this also. Class name, height of 20, w of 20, and margin right of 2, and we'll slightly rotate it as well. Rotate. First, let me save this and show you how it looks. Okay, so this I want it to be slightly tilted. So for that, there's a class in Tailwind called rotate. Rotate 12 degrees, and I want, see if I save this, it rotates it here, but I want it to be in the opposite direction. So you could just give it a negative value, it goes in the opposite value. Actually, you know what, I'll change this image to the one which we use. So I'll just open that one. Let me go, what is this one? Yeah, this is the link. You copy this out. Is that and save. Okay, that's much better. So we've gotten the image ready. We don't need that now. Okay, so next let's style the heading. So class name of text to Excel. The font size, I want it to be text to white. Save it. And if you wanted another color, you could just type text to red. And if I press Control Space, see, you have all this different shades of red, 100, 200, 300. So for now, for this one, I'll just use text white. Text white, and I want a margin Y, which means the y-axis of 2 length. So it spaces accordingly. After 2, there's another class which I really like using, which is called tracking. So this actually, if you see, if I save this, it configures the space between the letters. So tracking, it has a nice little look to it. Next, I'll give text center, and I save that. So it's come up in the center. See how it's so easy building the UI with Tailwind CSS, makes things so much more faster. So next, let us style this one. So class name flex on item center. This is straightforward, and let's say flex item center, and let's go with the input now. So we give a placeholder of add category. Save that. Okay, and give now style it. So padding of 2 makes it bigger. Okay, rounded corners I need, so rounded LG. And so as you can see here, whenever I click, there's an outline here. I don't want that. So if you don't want that, what you do is, there's another class called outline none. if I'm correct. If I save that, now you can see there's no outline here. So outline none, and when it's in focus, I want an outline of yellow 500. Let's check that out. Yes, it's working. Next, let's style the button. So class name of padding of 2, make it bigger. Let's give a BG of orange, shader 400. Save that. Okay, I want rounded corners, so rounded LG, and yeah, that's perfect. So now what I could do is, actually, you know what, we don't need flex, it's already aligned, it's already. So there's a class called space x2 in Tailwind CSS. So that basically gives a spacing for each of the elements inside the div. So there will be a spacing of 2 rem for input and 2 rem for button, both left and right side, and we'll center it. So text center. Okay, so it's come up in the center. Now let us center this also, the image. So for that, we will go here and just type space x2, space x2. Okay, and padding of 10, flex item center, and the columns, flex column. Okay, so everything came in the center. Now let us actually start coding to track the data here. So so let me make a state for that. So use state snippet, and I'll have to import this. No, actually, first I need to import that. I have to destructure that from state. Okay. Now let us do it. Use snippet. Okay, I'll call it name, or I'll call it category. That's better. Category. Set category and be a string. I'll save that. Okay. Now let us go to the input here, and I want to track that. So on change e and set category to e dot target dot value. I save that and I open my DevTools. So this is one of the extension for Chrome, which is called component. I think it's called React Developer Tools. So in that it shows you what the components are, what the state is. So it makes it easier. So if I type something here, so this is the state. And I type something here, it comes up here. You type something, okay, yeah, it comes up. But this is not actually mapped. This state is not mapped to this input field. You can see that here. If I type something here and I press enter, nothing comes up here. This means that it's not mapped here. So in order to actually get the value here, there's another attribute in the input field called value. So if I mention this as category, and I save that, now it comes up here. See, if I type something, say hello, hello, and I click enter, it comes up here. So that means it's tracking the state according to how we want. So that's also done. So next, let us create a, let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay, let's create an on submit, and I'll just call it as handle submit. Okay, we haven't created that, so let's create that. Const handle submit. So in order to prevent the page from refreshing, give a E, and the TypeScript wants me to define the type, so form event. It will be a from React. Okay. E dot prevent default, and if I just type in, let's say CLG, give me the category. So if you want the type, you could just go here, just type E, do something like that, and you'll get the type here. Okay, so that's how you can get the type. Okay, now let us see whether it's actually working. If I go to console log, delete all this, and I add category, it comes up here. So now we can successfully get the value. Let us actually create a, what do you say, the fetch. Let's make the call now. So for that, const new category, this should be an async function, async, and let's make an await here, fetch, what is it called, HTTP. We'll have to make a HTTP :// localhost 5001, if I'm correct. Okay, and we'll send an object also there. Okay, so we have to define a method. So method will be of type post, and we have to define a body JSON. We have to stringify it. So whenever you're sending data, you'll have to stringify it, and let's say category. Okay, then let us give a headers. Use a comma. Yeah. So if you want this, you could go. If you want to read up on the docs, you just go. Okay. This is fetch API. Fetch API. So the fetch API. So if you read the docs, they mention it here. Let's see. So this is for post, I think. So fetch here. So all of the, the information is given here. So when you're when you're sending data as body, you'll have to give it headers also, which is content type application JSON. Copy that and paste that. We don't need the comments. So I forgot to put this while building this. I forgot to put this, and I was getting an error. So okay, so once that's done, let's actually const let's get the value. So new category, and it can be, actually I'll change the name to category response. That's fine, that's better. New category response dot I want it in JSON. Okay, this is of promise, so we'll also have to await it. Await, and let's console log out the new category, and I'll save that. Now let us try whether everything works properly. So let me type in something. If I go to the network tab, here. Okay, it should come up here, and then I'll say hello from client, and I'll add it. It didn't come up here. Let me see what the problem is. Is it refreshing? Okay, it's refreshing. So it's refreshing because I think I messed up on the, I think it's HTML form element. Find the generic HTML form element. No, still doing that. Okay, I get it. I forgot to call it e.prevent default. Now it should not do anything. Okay, fine. Let's go to networks again. Clear this out. Hello. And I paste it. Okay, I got an error. Let me see what the problem is. Request a payload. Strange. //5000. Okay, I think it's because of cause error. There's a, it's given here cause missing. So whenever, as I said before, Express is bare bones, so we'll have to install another package called cores. So if you go here, so this basically says from where the data can be sent. So if you mention this, like, let me first install it, then it goes step by step. So not in the phone, in the server. So cd into server, I install npm icores. So if I scroll down, okay, it's installed. Let me import that. So cores, I probably have to install the type as well, since we're using Typescript. So if I hover here, npm the type, and let me go here and install the types. So once that's done, these dots should go away. Okay, it's gone. So then we'll use this app dot use cores. Okay, and I'll save that. So now, so cores basically says what we have to whitelist the site which can make request to the server. So in this case, if I just leave it empty, it is basically star, which means everything. Any sites can make a request to the server. So if you want to actually whitelist, if you're while build time, like while you're deploying the application, you'll have to mention the domain of the site which is making request here. So since that's done, I guess it's running the server. Okay, let me try that again. Hello, I'll delete all this. Hello from client, and I'll add. Okay, so it's gone. So if I go here, request, I send category response, or the response here. So if I go back and refresh this, hello from client should be here. Okay, good, it's come up here. So with that, we've actually made our first post request from the client side. So now let us make a endpoint for actually displaying those results here. So again, let's go back to our server. So index.ts server, we are in the server. Let's copy this out and I'll paste it here. instead of post, this time we need to get the request. So let's make a get request. So after that, we don't need all this. Let's say const new category. Probably should rename that to something more meaningful. So await phone book model dot find. So this basically finds all the categories in the phone book model. So then let's give a rest.json of new category dot. Let's save that. Now let us go to thunderclient again. So instead of this, we'll make a get request. Go here, get, and send. Okay, so we are getting all of the data here, so that endpoint is working. Conversely, you could also do something like, there's another function called app.root, something like this, and I think it was dot get. Okay, and you could just copy this out. Copy this out and paste it here. Okay, and I have to dot post, do the same thing here. Copy this out and paste it here. So you could go either method. You could individually go for app.post, app.get, or if the name of the path is the same, you could go get. If I just save this, okay, prettier formats it for me. So you could also do it this way. Either way works fine, but I like doing it this way. So after saving that, let me head over to my add category. Let's create it here itself. So we'll have to first get the data. So in order to get the data, we'll have to make a fetch request. So to make a fetch request, let's create a use effect. Okay, so let's call it const fetch category, and actually this will be a function, async. Okay, now let us call the response res categories from. We'll have to await this and let's call it fetch request. Okay, misspell that. FETCH, fetch category, fetch, and we'll fetch it from here. Okay, so this should be string. It's fine. Then let us get the let's call this a response. Let's call categories, we'll await it and get it from responses. Okay, and for now let us console log it. Let's see what's inside it. No. We'll create another state for this. Use state snippet categories. This will be an array. Save that, and I'll set this here. Set categories, press categories. Save that. Then just to see whether things are working, console log here categories. Yeah, I almost forgot. So whenever you're making a use effect, if you don't mention the dependencies here, this use effect will keep on running. So that will dramatically reduce our performance of our site. So in order to do that, if you give it an empty dependency here, it only runs once. This thing and this use effect runs once. So here I'll also want to call the fetch categories. If I save that and I see the console, yeah, I'm getting the data here. Okay, that's good. So let us clean up this a little bit. So we don't want to keep on making keep on writing this entire domain name here. So in our .env file, let us actually copy this out. So where Vite actually, no, Vite doesn't give us, we'll have to make one. Okay, never mind. We'll have to create a .env file. Yeah, press enter, and fetch Vite URL http://localhost 5001. Okay, I save that. So if you head over to Vite's env variable, Vite's page for env variable, they mention it. Like you'll have to prefix it with Vite for the client to actually know that it's a URL. So you'll have to prefix it with the Vite. So it's mentioned here. If you scroll down and read it in their docs, it's mentioned there. So you'll have to prefix it with Vite for it to be seen by the server. Sorry, the client. So since I've given it the name Vite URL, let's actually go back here, make a new file called config.ts. we call it as base URL, and I'll use that env variable by import.meta.env.vite URL. So we'll have to export this const. Okay, so that's done. I think I incorrectly spelled it. Yeah, go here, back, and I'll paste this here. Paste that, save that. Now let us go back to our app, add category, and we'll replace this with that. So now template literal, this should have a $, base URL. Copy this. So now we don't have to type the entire thing, we just have to call base URL. Okay, and I'll save that. Let's see what happens. If I open the DevTools, yeah, I'm getting everything. Let me post again. Vite added. Okay, that also is done. So everything is working properly. We don't need to console log this anymore. Okay, so now let us display the categories. So let me just place this properly. Let's add it somewhere. Let's add it here. So inside a div, we'll make a new component called, no, let's traverse through it. Categories dot category and we'll make a new component called category. Okay, so before that, let us make a, actually no, let's first create a component so that the errors go away. New file, category dot tsx, enter RAFC, and I'll import this. So now all the errors are gone. So before that, let us make a type for this type definition. So under source, make a file called typings.t.ts. So this is where all our types goes for category. So let us create a, don't need export type, let us call it type t category. It will have, let's see, we'll have a category of type string. It will also have a contact, should be a contact. So we'll create this type now, type t contact. Let's go head over back to our index dot not t. Let's see our models, how it looks, and accordingly we'll make the file. So contacts will have a name, description, number. Let's go back to typings. Name will be a string. Description will be a string, and phone will also be a string, and I'll save that. Okay, so let's clear all this out. Go to add category. Now I should be getting a IntelliSense for that. So easy, whenever you're mapping through something in React, you always have to give it something called a key. So this tells React like what to render, what changes are being made in the browser. So category dot id. Okay, it's not coming for some reason. Okay, yeah, it is because I have not mentioned it here. Categories will be of type t, category will be of array type. Now let's go back here. So there should be an ID as well. Yeah, there's also an ID. So if I go back, it gives me an ID back. So if I go here, ID will also be a string. This will be of, okay, this will be of underscore ID. Underscore ID will be of type string. Contact will also have a string. It will also have an ID. What I was saying. Okay. So now if I underscore ID, it should come. Yeah. Now let us pass in the data. So category ID, we'll pass in categories ID. Category dot, I get that IntelliSense ID. Then we'll pass in category dot category, and last contacts category dot contact. Okay, so everything is there. We are getting an error because we're not mentioning it here, so we'll have to create a type for the props. So props category ID will be of type string category will be of type string, and contact, it is contacts plural, yeah, contacts will be of type T, contact will be of array type. Now destructure it here, category ID category and contact props. So with that, all our error is gone. We're not getting any error. So now let us start rendering it out. So inside the div we'll have a h1, will be category, and in h1 we'll have a div, we'll have a p tag. This will eventually give us the contacts, the length of the contact. So for now let's just give 0, or let's actually give it contact dot length. As this is an array type, I'm using the length property here. So then these two, I think we'll need another, we'll need a icon here. So have I already installed React icons? No, I haven't. So you'll have to install a package called React icons. This gives us a bunch of beautiful icons. So here let us go to our client, so cd into client, okay, and let us install npm I react icons. Okay, so let us go here to the site and just type user. You get a bunch of these cool icons. So let's choose one. Let's choose this one, fa user alt. We'll import it, react icons fa. So since this has an initial fa, you'll have to give it the folder fa. If it was something like say di, you would have put di here. Okay, so now let us use that fa user alt. Save that. Let's see what comes up. Okay. So nearness. Contacts is undefined. Fine. I think that's because we don't, our data which is coming in, we don't have it yet. So we'll define this later. For now, let's give it as 0. Fine. We'll create this later. So next, let's make a, we'll style this. So class name, let's say bg transparent, gives a transparent background, give a border, give a p2, padding of 2, rounded corners, okay, flex column, and space in the y-axis of 4. So all the child will have a all these child inside will have a spacing of 4 run. Oh, how much is it? Yeah, some amount of space. So once that's done, okay, we don't want it this way, we want it to be rendered out side by side. So for that, we'll have to go back to add categories. I have to mention it here. So let's make it a grid. It will have column of 4. So grid col 4. We need 4 columns, and we'll have, okay, first let me show how it comes up here. What's happening? Is it running? Okay, it's still grid calls for category. That's strange. It shouldn't be like that. Grid call for. Okay, this should be, I think, grid calls for. Okay. Now it's being rendered out here, and I need a gap. So you could just call the utility class gap of 4. Let's say 2. Now it has a gap of 2. Okay. Let's go back here and style out the remainder. Let's go with this. We need a font bold. This is the weight of the fonts, bold. Text size of the text should be text 2XL and 2XL. We need the color to be yellow of 500. We will also center the text and capitalize it. Capitalize, and I'll save that. Okay, much better. Then let us style this here. We want this to be side by side, so flex item center. Okay, and space x, so all the child components will have spacing around them, space x of 2. Okay, then this also. Speed text yellow 500. Okay, then let's make a form here. Since eventually we'll have a delete functionality, so we'll make a form here. We'll have a link also. For now, let's keep it as A. No, actually, let us install the React router DOM. React router DOM, and I install it. Okay, so now I can just take in the link from React router DOM and click view, type in view, sorry. It will link me to, eventually it will link me to category and category ID. Category dot, I think, yeah, just category ID, because I'm in. So this will save that. What happened? Let me check the DevTools. Okay, this is basically because I haven't brought it yet. So let's go to main.tsx, go to React router DOM. If I go to their home page, okay. So recently React router DOM made changes to the way they use there. So this is a bit different. Let's copy this out, bring it in the main root, call this and I need this, and this should render out, the slash page should render out, and I save that. So now I think that error should have gone. Yeah, it's gone. So let us go back to category. We'll style this out. Class name, padding of 2, pg of green, 500, rounded corners. Okay, and flex. So flex one basically says to take up all the space which is available to it, similar to as flex grow in CSS. Center. Okay, so if I'm calling flex grow, I'll also have to mention flex here, space x2 and empty auto, AUTO. Cool. Once that's done, let us make a button here. Button. We'll call it delete. We'll have a padding of 2, pg red of 500, rounded corners, and flex 1. Okay. That's fine. I think that's good enough. Check, these are not aligned properly. Let me check. Empty auto, padding of 2. Okay, maybe that's because of these have 2 lines. Okay, for now that's done. Let's check whether everything works properly. So I'll create a category called say Django, add category, and if I refresh the page, it comes up here. So we don't want that, right? We want it to, whenever I type something like say HH and I click add category, it should pop up here. So for that we have to optimistically render it, a technique called optimistic render. So in order to do that, we'll be doing that next week, because we'll have to be using something called as state management using context API, and that needs that's a whole another concept. So I'll keep that in another video so that it is easier. Hey there guys, so today let's pick off from where we left last week. So first thing is, this misalignment is bothering me. My OCD mind is kicking in, so let's fix that. So I think to fix that you'll just need to delete this. If I delete this, yeah, it fixes it. That's because here I've mentioned empty auto, which means basically take in the maximum amount of height at the top, and here I'm also mentioning space y4, which means take a space the child components with a given amount of pixels. So that's contradicting itself. So if I take that out, it aligns it perfectly. So today let's actually implement state management. So let me show you here what we are doing. So if I just okay, fine. So this is how our component is rendering out as of now. So we are making a get request from the backend, and the data coming here, we are saving it in a set categories with set categories, and then we are rendering it out. So in the future we'll have a delete button where we will be deleting, and the component should go off. So the problem right now is in React you can only send data from parent to child, and you cannot actually, if I'm calling, if I have a set categories here, and if I'm deleting it, I want this category to go and the change should reflect here. That cannot be done because now I want the data. Let me move here. I want the data from here to here. It should make a change. If I click this category should be subtracted from here, as I've demonstrated here. Set categories. If I click this delete button, this category should be gone here, but that cannot be done in regular React. So in order to actually avoid that, what we can do is we can make a we can call the categories here. So let me just copy this. We can actually fetch the data in the app component, and using the context API, I can make it available to all these components. Then what I can do is I can simply call the set categories method and change it here. This will be much clearer when I actually show it to you. So let's begin. So if I go to my app component, so let's create the context in the parent component, which is the app tsx. So here let me call the context as, let's say, we'll have to export this. We'll call it context and create context. Okay. Yeah. We'll have to import from React. Okay, and then that's done. What we'll do is we'll create a state. So state, this is for saving the data coming from the backend. This is similar to how we did it here. This is the same thing. So I can just copy this actually and paste it here. After import useState. Then what you do is you provide a provider here. So context dot provider, put the add category in between, and you'll have to provide it a value as well. So value will be categories and set categories. Why am I getting an error here? Let me see. Okay, this is for now. Let me just put here any. Okay, so that error is gone now. So this, if I do this now, all the child components, if I put any other child components, this categories and set categories will be available to those components. So if I go to add category here, and let's just say, I'll just comment this out. Now I can use those categories. So how do I use it? You can use it by simply destructuring it from categories, set categories. So I'm basically destructuring it from use context, and you'll have to provide the context, which is this thing. This name you'll have to provide it here. So context, input it. So now I have it here. So this in JavaScript this would work, but now the problem is if I'm calling it categories and I press dot, I don't get that IntelliSense which TypeScript provides us. So now to get that IntelliSense, what I'll do is I'll go back here. I'll have to provide two things here, the type and the initial value. So for the type, let's call it category context type. So now let's create the type of this. So let's say type category context type will have two values. One is categories and the other one will be set categories. Set categories. Okay. That is because we are passing in a state which has two things. So you'll have to provide it two things. So first thing is the categories. Categories basically will be of two types. Not two types, sorry. It will be either a type of T categories, T category, an array of this, or it will be null. Null because before we are actually making the call, it will be a null value. There won't be anything inside. And after we we get the data, it will be of this type, T category of an array type. Next is the set categories type. This will be of type, let me first type it out, dispatch react dot set state action, which will be of type T category array type. This you can get if you just hover over here. This is the state, this is the type definition for that. So if you just copy this out and paste it here, you'll get the type here. So now that is done, we'll have to provide it the initial value. So for the initial value, let's call it let's say I category context state. Let's make this capital. Okay. So now let's provide the initial type. Type I category context state. We'll have two things, which is categories, which will be initially null, and set categories will have a function. I think I misspelled it. I'll just copy this out. Paste it here. Let's see where I made mistake. I category. Okay, this is not the type, it is of constant type, because this is not a type definition, this is a value. So initially the value will be null and set categories will have a function in it. So that is why it's a constant, not a type. Type definition goes here. So once that is done, if I go back here and I'm destructuring it. So now if I go here and call it categories dot map category Now if I press dot, I should get the IntelliSense here. Now I'm getting it. So that's done. So now what we'll do is, as of now, it's empty here. Nothing is there in set categories. We'll actually make the call here. We'll take this, cut this out, and paste it here. You'll have to import all this. Import the base URL. Import the set categories also. Oh no, I think I misspelled this somewhere. Cannot find name set category. Did you mean res categories? Okay, this error is basically because I made a very stupid mistake. It should be inside the app. I'll just, okay, now it should work. Yeah, now it's still working. If I save this, I'll save this also, everything still works. If I refresh it, it still works here. So now let's check whether it's working. So let's say test, and I click add category. If I refresh the page, it comes up here. So now let's optimistically render the data. So in order to do that, what I'll do is set the categories. I'll spread out the array. This will not be a null type, and I'll insert the new category, and I'll also set the category name to empty string. So basically what we're doing now is we are making a UI change before the server responds. So optimistic rendering is a technique where we make changes to the UI before the server responds, because we're sure that the data will come in. So now if I click, say I type test2 and I click add category, it comes up here and clears the category name as well. Okay, so since that's done, let's start by cleaning up this function. So whenever we are developing an application, we actually have to abstract all this logic from the client side. So in order to do that, what I can do is, under the source directory, let me create a new folder called API, and I'll call a file called, say this is adding a category, so I'll call it add category dot tsx. No, not tsx, it's Typescript. Okay, then I'll export it. I'll first and call it add category. So this will be an async function, and okay, I guess I'll copy this out now. I'll copy all this out, and I'll the async function, and I'll paste it here. We'll have to import this. It's all working fine, and category should come in here. So category will be a string type. Okay, and we'll also have to return this. Return new category. This will be of type, the category which will be coming in will be of type category. So now, okay, it's of type T category. You could also give it a return type of the function. If you want to be pedantic about it, you could do something like promise. If I go here, it's of a, one second, let me, okay, this is, it's not completely shown. This will give me a promise of a generic type. So I can go here, promise, and I can give it a type of T category. You don't have to do this, but if you want to be pedantic about it, you could do it. I save that, and I just have to call it now here. So I could basically, let's say, let me delete all this, call it new category, and I can just call that function now. It was add category. I'll also have to pass in a value for it, which is category. Okay, so I'm getting this error. So okay, it's of promise type. Okay, so you'll have to basically await this. With that, it's no errors. So since we gave it a promise here, like we mentioned the type here, I was getting the error here. So that actually saved me, because if I wouldn't have given it a type here, that error wouldn't have shown here, and it basically would have messed up the code. So now let's try whether it's still working. So let's say test3, click, and it still works. So now let's clear this also. We are getting the categories here. So let's go to API, create a new file, get categories.ts. We'll copy this. Let's say which category we're calling it. Okay, this part we'll have to copy. And we'll paste it here. Before pasting, let me export const get categories async. I can paste it here. I'll have to import this. Okay, and what else? I could again give it a promise type. So I'll return this. Return, what do I call it here? Be of type rest categories. So rest categories, let's just call it. This will give me a promise of the category, which is an array type. I save that, and okay, let me just delete that out. Call that function get categories, and I'll call it rest categories here. Again, I'll have to await it. If I hover here, it's a promise type. So if it's a promise type, you'll have to await it. And if I save, nothing is broken, everything works. So we've cleaned up our function as well. Now let's go and create a functionality for the deleting category. So let's head over back here. So now you can see it's starting to get messy here. So now I'll be creating another route for deleting the category. So in order to avoid that, let's create another folder called roots. So roots, and I'll save that roots. I'll save a file called category roots. So this is where all the roots for the category will be going here. So if I'll just import express from express. Now I can just save this. Okay, if I head back here, let me just copy this out. Copy this, paste it here, and bring this up. So we'll have to import the phone book model. I think it's better just to do it here. Import this, and I'll have to import another thing called now I don't have to import another thing. I have to bring in category roots from ROUTES from express dot router. So now I can just copy this and paste it here. We'll have to import this as well, the type definitions for request and response. Okay, so now all the errors are gone. So now to actually use these roots, head over here, not here. Let me actually, okay, that's fine. Let's go to index.ts and I'll go here and I'll app.use category and I'll import that roots. So what I call it? I called it categories roots. Categories roots. Okay. They export it. Have to export it also. Export category roots. Copy this, paste it here, export it here. So now the base becomes category. So if I'll just save everything. Okay, so the base is category. So if I go inside this, it will be slash category slash. So anything before this will be this thing here, slash category slash. So now let us create a root for deleting the category. So for that I'll just copy this out. It will be the same, but this time the method will be delete. It will be in the slash contact slash path, and I'll have to destructure the ID from the client. The client will be sending an ID for what category I want to delete, so that will be sent through the body. I'll destructure that out and I'll delete the category. So this part also I don't need. So if I const, I call it deleted category and await phone book model dot find by ID and delete. Should be a function for that. Okay, and I give it the category ID, and the response will be deleted category. Okay, so if I save that, now let's check whether this endpoint works. So for that, again, Thunderbolt client, go here. Okay, the body I'll have to send the ID. So let's get the ID. Let's go to Mongo Atla. Just take a random ID from the data. I take this. This time in the body I'll be sending an ID. Okay, and what was it called again? It's called category ID. If I paste it here and I change the method to delete, click. Okay, I got an error. Let's see what the error has. 404 not found. Okay, it's 5001 and it's under slash category. As you can see here, if I go here, slash category slash, so you'll have to go to that root, slash category slash, and I send it. Okay, I got the data here. If I go back to my client, and this I think it was hello. So if I refresh this, okay, something broke. Let me check. JSON.parse line JSON.data. So I think I made the fetch from the client should be, I made a mistake there. So let's see. Please, okay, yeah. So this should be slash category. And if I save that, yeah, everything works. So maybe let me check the add category as well. This will be slash add category, not add category, category. Oh, it's not be inside, it should be out. Slash category. I save that. Okay, hello is gone. Refresh it. Let's delete another one. Let's say this time 6.3, this one. I copy that. I'll head over to Thunderbolt client. This time I'll go here, change the ID, send. Okay, I'm getting, should be delete, send. I got this. And if one should be gone from here. Okay, it's gone. So everything works. Let me try adding one. Test 3. Okay, that also works. So now again, let's head over to the client and put in the delete functionality. So let's first go open editors and let's just remove that. Go back. Let's create a API route for deleting it. So delete category.ts. So let's call it export const delete category async function. Okay, and this will also be a promise of type t category. Okay, the error is because you have to return something which will be returning soon. So const res await fetch. You call in the base URL. So base URL / category and inside the body we'll have to mention the method which is delete, and in the body we'll have to give it the ID. So we'll have to stringify the body first. Stringify. We have a category ID and headers, content type application JSON. Okay, this will come from here. So category ID, it will be a string type, string. See, promise the category. Let me first take this out. Oh, this should not be in curly braces. Okay, thank you guys. Promise of t category, and I'll have to return it. So the response which will come, the response which will be coming from here, we'll put it in deleted category. It will be of type t category. I'll have to await res dot JSON and I'll return it. Deleted category. I misspelled return. Okay, now all errors gone. Now let's go to, I think the component was category here. So here we'll have to create a new function for it. So on click handle delete category. We can actually copy this. It might be the same. Yeah, just go here, copy it, paste it here. Then we'll have to import form event. So let's import the types for form event. This will be we'll be calling delete category, and we'll have to pass in category ID, and the return type will be deleted. We don't need this also. Deleted. Okay. So there's an error. Let's see what the error is. Handle delete. I cannot. Did you mean delete category? Let's see. Okay, that's because I didn't name it correctly. Handle delete category. Some error. That's because of the type. Now if I save everything still works. Let's try. Click. Let me open my DevTools. Network. Reload. If I click delete, I got a delete here. Request. This category ID was sent. Response. This is my response. Now let me refresh this, and that's gone. So now again, let's optimistically render it. So in order to optimistically render it out, we'll have to get the categories. So for that, again, destructure it from the context. Use context. Give it the context. What happened? Okay, equal to import this. Okay, now we have all of our categories here. So now let's do something. Let me first type it out, then I'll explain what I'm doing. Filter it. And curly dot ID should not be equal to delete category dot ID. This should be as T category, again array type. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is filter is an inbuilt JavaScript function that filters out an array based on the condition you provided. So if the condition is true, it returns the value, else it excludes it. So here I'm saying if category ID is not equal to deleted category ID, this condition gives me false. So that particular category is removed from the categories which I'm getting. So let's test this out. So if I delete one of the category, it goes away. So again, we've optimistically rendered it. So next what we'll do is we'll create individual category pages for each of these categories. So if I click right now view, it gives me this 404 not a found error. That's because this page doesn't exist yet. So let's create that page. So to create, let's head over back to, I think it was main.tsx. Yeah, I'll copy this out. I'll paste it here. I'll call it category slash, I'll give up params as well, category ID, and the component which I want to render out is contact. So new file, contact.tsx, I'll give rafc, save that. I'll save, okay, I'll have to call it here, contact, save that. Okay, now I'm getting that page. So params is basically this, the anything which you pass after the category. So if I say, if I give 1, it gives me this page. So this is params. Okay, so now let's go to a server and we'll create a endpoint. Let me go back again, to display the information of each of these categories. So for that, let's create an endpoint. Back to our category roots. Let's say it'll be a get. Let's copy this and I'll paste it here. So this time to access, I'll give it parameter category ID. So this request object has a special function to get the params, to get this variable. So in order to get that, I'll just destructure category ID. I'll take that from rick.params. So I get with this function I can get the ID whatever I've passed now. So say view, I can get this value. You could also optionally go like category ID, you could do that as well, and if you don't want to destructure, but I'll destructure it just because I like it this way. Okay, so I've gotten the category ID. So with that, we'll find it from the database. So in order to do that, let's go category. I'll have to await it. Call the phone book model dot find by ID, and I'll pass in that value, category ID. Okay, so I've got no errors. We don't need this line, and let's give it JSON of category. So let's try this out now. I'll copy this ID and I'll go to thunderclient. Okay, paste it here and I'll get the request. Let's see whether I get it. Okay, so I'm getting it, hello from client. That is one of the categories. So now let's go back to our client. Not here, sorry, client side. Let's go to the client. I'll delete all this, close all that. So contact here, let's start rendering out the data here. So in order to get the data, let's create an endpoint for that. So I'll just copy this and just call it get category, get category.ts. okay, once this one. So then let's rename this to category, and it will get a category ID, category ID, which will be a string, and this will be not an array type, it will be single value. Okay, so let's call this category press await fetch base URL category slash with the params which will be passing, which is category ID. Okay, now this will call as category, which will be of type T category, and this is because of this, and I'll return that. So with that, we have the function for connecting it to our endpoint. Then let's go back to contact and let's use effect to get that data. So use effect, we can actually copy this from here since it's the same. Where was it? I think it's app. Okay, just copy this part out, go back here and paste it. So fetch category async, let's call this category get category, and we'll have to pass in an ID which will get from, let's say we get it from React router. So import from React router DOM, we use params hook for that. So now const category ID structure it from use params. So with that, I have the category ID. I'll pass it here, category ID. And why is this error? Okay, we hit we put an exclamatory mark saying that it cannot be null. Then we set the for this we'll have to create a state. So for that, use state, I'll call it category, and I'll import it. Also mention the type category. Now I can set the category, set category to category. So with that, let's check whether we are getting the data. So let's console log it out, category, and open my DevTools console. I'm getting the data from here. So let's start building out the UI. So I'll go here, let's start building div. It'll have a h1 category of titles. For now I'll just title, category title, and the same level we'll have inputs for changing the title. So here I'll have a div, inside that I'll have an input. I'll also have a button. This is something called an emmet. So it's like you can use short forms to create tags. Okay, so I've created that. Now let's start styling it. So class name, say max width of 4XL, and to center it we'll have mx auto, auto mx auto, be flex call, and we'll also justify center. With that, it's centered. I think I'll make it half and half so that you can see it better. Okay, much better. So then let's style in this one, this div. Let's have a border, padding of 2, text should be white, margin top of 10, flex call, and space y of 2. So all the child components will have in the y axis a space of a certain pixel. Okay, it's come up here, good. Then let's style this out. So class name, font bold, text to XL. For the size, we'll capitalize it, and let's center it out. Text center. Okay, save it. Good. Next, let's go here and class name flex item center, and save that. Inside the input, let's make a placeholder and change title. Okay, let's give a class name. Okay, so since we'll be repeating the same styles over and over again for the various inputs, let's make I'll show you, just 1 second. This is not a Tailwind thing. We'll create a style, like we'll create a common style for all the inputs. So let's go for the button, and let's say change title, save that. Class name, let's call it BT, and again this is not a Tailwind utility class. We'll be creating this now. So let's head over to index.css here. So, and we'll say something like at layer components. Now you can just treat it as a regular CSS. Dot inputs at apply. Okay, now padding of 2, DG transparent. If I save that, it reflects here, there. Outline none. So okay, I'll show you why that is. So right now, if I have this blue outline, right? So I don't want that. So in order to take that out, you just give it a class outline none. Yeah. Text yellow. So whenever it types something, it is of yellow color. Let's say a shade of 400. I want it to be rounded, and margin in the x-axis for 3. Why say on? Okay, cool. Now I save that. Now if I type, it's of the yellow color, no outlines. Actually, we don't need rounded. We are not using border. So save that. Next, let's create a class for the button. So btn. Again the same, at apply, padding of 2, rounded should be large, bg yellow, 500, text black, and if it's disabled, I want it to be gray of 500. Yeah, so everything is working now. I mean, the UI is done for this. Let's go back here. Let's actually render out the title now. So as you can see here, I'm setting the state as category. So all the data is in here. So let's say, let's render it out, category dot category. Okay, sorry. This is the button, not the title. Change title, save that. This is what I wanted to change. So category dot category. Oh, hello from client. Now if I go back and go say Django. Now let's create an endpoint for updating the heading. So let's go back to category roots. Now let's create an endpoint for updating it. So category roots. So this time, since we are making update, we'll have to use put. So put, we'll call it, okay, params of category ID, and we basically can copy this out now. Just copy this out and paste it here. We'll have to make some slight changes. So async request, get the params, then since we are updating it, we'll call it updated category, await phone book, find by ID, and update. So and not delete, sorry, update. Okay, next what we do is okay, so we'll be getting the title. Since we have to change the title, we'll have to send it from the client through the backend through the body. So let's say title rec dot body. So once after I find it by ID, let's say the ID is category ID and the category will be title. Okay, I'm getting, okay, this should not be an object. No, that's not the case. Okay, it's because of the, okay, and then we'll give a status of 200, meaning that it was successful, and also a JSON response of updated category. And let's try this out. Let's go to Thunderbolt client again. Here this ID is what, let me, okay, let's change this. So then let's make a put request, and in the body, so category ID I'll have to send. I'll also have to send a title. Let's say this is hello from client, so let's say athletes, and let me, now if I send it, okay, so it was successful. Okay, this is because if I go back here, so Mongoose has this special, I think it made a recent change. So in order to get the response, like the new response, you have to pass it something, an object called new true. So if I do this and now I type athletes and send it again, it works. Again, I'll change it to say doctors, and now it's working. So we've created the endpoint for that. So now let's again go back to clients. No, yeah, to the client side. We'll create a new one, new category. So let's say, no, sorry, new endpoint. So copy this, call it update category.ts. Hit enter. I'll have to make changes. Let's actually call it update title. So category, let's call it update title. Okay, now let's change this to update title. Okay, so this will basically have a category ID, and it should also, a title should come in. So title string. Okay, this updated title res the base URL will be base URL category and the params. So the category ID, category dot, not dot, sorry, it's ID. The method will be put, will be sending a title. This will remain the same, and this will call as new title, which is basically a category, and I have to get the JSON of this and send this back. So we've created a function. Let's go back here. Where was it? Contacts. So let's create a state for that. So use state, and let's call it title. It'll be a string. Save that, and let's go here now. The value will be title on change. On change, track the value, so set title to e.target dot value. So I'm tracking it. Then on click, handle update title. There's an error because we haven't created it, so let's go create that function. I'll copy this, I'll create it here. So const title we need an event here, which will be react dot form event. Now let's say if there is no category ID, then we'll return alert no such category. Then let's actually call the function update title. We'll have to pass two things, which is title, and we'll also have to pass in the ID. There's an error because there should be an async function. Okay, and then let's set the category to the new title. Set, and we'll clean up. We'll set the input value to an empty string. Now let's test this out. So let's say doctors, I hit change, it changes. So with this we've completed all the routes for the category routes. So with this we've completed all the routes for the category. So next week we'll do the last portion. Hey guys, so today let's start with the last part of our build. So let's start off with making the endpoints for the contacts. So let us make another route just for the contacts. So let's create a new file called contact routes.ts, and let's go here and let's just copy out the first part of it and paste it here. Let me rename this to contact routes, and let me first create the root for actually creating the data. So post slash, we give a params which is category ID and slash contact. So this is the root where we'll be posting our data, and this for this part of the function we can just copy. So the post one is this part. Just copy this part, go here, paste it here, save this, and let's go back, head over to index.ts and copy this line. This will be the same, and we'll call it contact roots. So now for posting the data, the URL will be slash category ID slash contact. So now let's make changes to this. So in order to make a post request for the contact, we'll need the ID, this part. So for that, let's destructure it from the params, category ID from rec.params. Okay, we'll also have a, if I go to the models and see the phone book, contact should have name, description and number. So that will be coming from the client as a body. So let's destructure it from the body, name, description and number should be destructured from rec.body. Okay, then what we'll do is let's call it category. It won't be a new phone. We'll await this, and phone book dot, we'll actually update this, find ID and update. Okay, delete that. So we'll give it an ID, so it should be underscore ID, a category ID, and so we'll actually have to, so in the beginning in each category the contacts will be empty, so we'll have to push data to this. So in order to push data to the contacts array, Mongoose provides us with a thing called push. So $push, you'll have to mention the array contacts, and then you provide it with the object name, description and number. Then what you do is you'll also have to give it something called new is equal to true. So with this basically the hover doesn't work fine. I made some bracket error somewhere. I think it's this one. Okay. Open curly. I think there's no curly here. Okay, yeah. Let me just save this also. We don't need this. Give a status of 200 and give a JSON of category, and I'll save that. So let me first show you what happens if I don't mention new is true. So let's go to Thunderbolt client, go here. I'll have to open Mongo admin. No, actually you don't need it. I'm going to open that. I'll get it from here itself. So this is the ID. I'll copy this ID out. Let's make post request category ID contact. This is the root which we mentioned here. So as a root, name, description, phone number I've given here, and I'll send the data. So as you can see here, I'm not getting the response back with the contacts. This is because we didn't provide the new is equal to true. Only when I hit again will it appear here. So it's one it's a history back. It doesn't give us the latest JSON object. So in order to get the latest one, just make this to true. Again, what is this error? Okay, now I actually should get it. So let's say test 2 and number is add 7. Now if I click send, I will get the latest data here, and these are all because I made those post requests before when I was checking, right? So that is why these two appear. So if I change this again to test 3, description test 3, the new JSON object we get here. So with that, we've successfully created a endpoint for the contacts. Now let's go back to clients and create the UI for this, for actually posting the data. So before that, let's go to API, create a new file called add contact.ts, and we could just copy from add category. Just copy this and paste it here. We can make changes accordingly. So this will be add contact. Okay, so we'll be needing category ID, we'll be needing name, which will be a string, we'll need a description, which will be a string, we'll also be needing a number which will be a string. Okay, and the body will have name, description, and number. Okay, and we'll have to change category to, we need to add category ID, contact. This method will be post body, let's call this res method. This will be res.json and will return. So this, we've created the function for posting the data. Now let's head over to contact. Now let's start building the UI for this. So it should be under, I think this div will do. Under this div, yeah, okay. So it's always a good idea to comment things out, both for the developers as well as the people who are referring to your code. So div, have a form inside, you don't need an action. Let's have a div again. Inside the div will have input, have 2 inputs. So this is something called emit. You could probably go to the net and just check what is emit. It's an easier way to write tags, short form. Okay, so I'll have 2 inputs, and I'll have 2 inputs, and then I'll have an input and a button. Yeah, that it. think with that we have everything which we need. And I'm just giving it add here. Add. Okay, now let's start styling it out. This will be even margin top of 10. It will be flex column, and each child will have spacing of space y4. Okay, for the form it will be flex call space y of 4. All the child components have a space the y-axis of 4. If I give it as 3, save it, okay, much better. So if I don't give anything, save that. Strange. Okay, that's because of this one. Space y of 4. Now if I give space y of 2, okay, I'll give it a 4 for now. 4. So space y 2. Since this has just one component as of now, you won't see any difference, that's why. So then, okay, form is done. Let's style this out. So let's have a grid and grid column 2 with a gap. I'll show how this looks. We call 2 and a gap of, no, I don't think we need a gap. Input, let's give a placeholder. Enter phone number. Oops, okay, let's do this. Fine. Things appearing here. Okay, I have 2 input fields. I need a gap in between them, so I could just give a utility class called gap2, and there's a gap of 2 pixel, not 2 pixel, of 0.5 rem 8 pixel. Okay, then I can give a class. I'll style this out. So inputs, remember last week which we created here in index.css, we named it we gave a styling for this class. It's called dot inputs. So same thing I can use here, and I'll save it. It's got the same styling now. We do the same for this. Called inputs. Save that. I want a border as well. So let's give a border, and here also. Okay. So we've styled that. Next, let's go with this one here. So placeholder, we enter description. Okay. Again, class name, you could give inputs and a border. Okay, cool. And at the last, btn, which we created last week. Nice. and margin on the y-axis of 5. Call span 2. I need to do this. So that's done. Okay, so now let us give us styling for the disabled one as well. If it's disabled, okay, yeah, let me first create a state for this. So I'll track what the users type inside this input with the use state. So let's go here and go here. So use state snippet. So first will be contact. No, let's call it as name. String. Again, use state snippet. It should be a number. This will also be a string. And the last one will be a description. Set description. I say what? Okay. Now we have to track it. So value. We'll put this in the end. Value. The value will be name and on change set name dot target dot value. So I can basically copy this for these two. Here, and instead of name I'll give number. Here as well it's number, and this is the last one, the description. This will be set description. Okay, now we can tell it to disable the button if name is empty or number is empty. If I save that, this becomes gray. This is because last week, you remember, like we mentioned the styling here. If it's disabled, make it PG gray of 500. So if I type something here and I type something here, only then does this button activate. So for now, let's just delete that. Let's go to contacts again. So we've done our styling. Now all we have to do is create a function for it. So on submit and then add contact. Now we'll have to create this. Let's come on top and let's here. So add contact function. So we'll have to provide it with an E. So react.form event, and in order to prevent it from refreshing, e.prevent default. Now we can actually call our function which we created earlier. So let's say const new category await add contact. This will take in category ID, name, description, number. This is an error because we didn't mention it as async. Okay, you could probably just give it an exclamatory, or you could even do something like say if category ID is false, and return an alert message saying no such category. You could do either way, anything is fine. You could probably do this. This makes more sense. Okay, then after that, let's say that's done. Then we'll set the category to new category, and we'll set the name to an empty string, set a description to empty string, set number to empty string. I save everything. Now let's check whether this works. So if I open my DevTools, go to network, I reload it, I type in something called contact info, say Mike Tyson. I wish I had the number 9, and let's say IN Mike, and okay, it's a doctor's. I've kept the category as doctor and name is Mike Tyson's. Okay, whatever. And I click add. So let's see. I've posted the data successfully. Request was this, response was this. Mike Tyson was added, as you can see here. It's added. Now let's make an endpoint for no, before that actually we'll render it out here. So let's render it out. So I'll comment this portion out first, contact info. Then we'll have a div. Inside that we'll have another div. Inside that we'll have 4 P's, paragraph tags, into 4. Okay, so each paragraph will have, first one will be contact name, next one will be description, and this one will be phone number, let's save that. Run dev run dev. Okay, so we have that. So padding top of 4. Okay, here we'll have a flex justify between, save that. Then text yellow of 500, padding of 5, border bottom, this is to target the first child, so border T, and actually let's go on with this end. Then let's class name, capitalize this, give a width of 32 and margin left of 6. Okay, then the description, let's give a flex 1. This basically means flex grow. If I hover here, flex 110. Okay, this is the CSS property for flex grow. So it will basically take up how much ever space it is required. So flex 1, margin left of 6, same thing here, class name flex 1, negative margin left of 12. Okay, much better. Then we'll have another div. This time we'll actually map through the contexts dot context dot, okay, I think it should be, if I go to typings, this should be contacts, not contact, because the data which I'm getting back gives me contacts. Now let's map through it. Contact, and inside it will be a div. Inside the div we'll have h1 with the contact name. Probably fix that. Okay, and you should always provide it with a key whenever you're mapping. So contact dot id. Okay, once that's another h1, then let's have two p tags. So one will have contact dot description, and another will be number. I think contacts, this should be number. So everything's rendered out now. Okay, cool. Next, what do I want? I think, okay, I'll a button for deleting it. Delete. Okay, so now let's start styling it out. Over here, class name flex justify between, okay, justify between text yellow of 500, padding of 5, border bottom, save that. Beautiful. First child should have border of t and space x of 3. So then we'll fix this misalignment. Class name will capitalize it, capitalize. Okay, width of 32, margin x of 3. Okay, it's coming together now. X1. So it's basically allowed to take how much ever space is required to take the maximum amount of space. If I would have, there's also a property called 0, so it takes the least amount of space possible. So for now I'll take 1, and I'll take here also flex 1, and button let's say of 2 bg red of 500 rounded lg text white, and save that. Everything is proper. Okay, I'll also have another here. If I go to React icons and go here, say user, I'll take this one, FA user alt. So if I go on top and import that from React icons FA user alt, I'll put it right here. Let's see how that looks. FA user alt, I want the size also to be 30. Let's save that. Now everything looks much better. So let's try adding now. I'll refresh it, everything works. Let's add one. Let's say Dustin here, give a number 111 and I'll give a description striker, and I'll add it here so it comes up here. So this part is working. I probably should change the categories to maybe MMA. That's more appropriate. Okay. Now I think the last part is to create an endpoint for deleting the contacts. So for that, let's go back to our endpoints here. We'll copy this out, paste it here. Instead of post, it will be delete the same domain, the same URL. Request ID I need. I don't think I need this. I take the contact ID to determine which like to contact to delete from the body. So from the client side, I'll send this through the body, the contact ID, and let's say const deleted contact await phone book model, and find by ID and update. We'll update it. Okay, ID category. This time instead of pushing, we'll pull it, which means basically deleting the object from the array. So pull it from the contacts array, which has an ID of contact ID, and I think you'll have to pass in some additional properties. Say true, multi false, and new true, and rest.status 200, and I'll give it JSON deleted contact. Okay, much better. We'll go back and check this. Copy that, paste it here. So post, we'll do a delete. I think we'll need a contact ID as well. So let's head over to Mongo Atla. We'll have to sign in. Not sign up, sorry, sign in. Sign in with the Google account. It's a bit slow. Okay, fine, good. I didn't have to sign in. Let's browse collection. this is the wrong one. This is the table. So let's say oh, this was the other one. I'll have to change the account. Let's say log out. This is the other account. The account which I'm using is this one. Browse collection. Let's take, we put in athletes, I guess. MMA, yeah, we put in MMA. Take this ID. Put it here. And we'll take one of the contacts. So each contact has an ID. So let's take ASDF. Copy that. Instead of this, the body, I will send a contact ID. So contact ID. Okay, now let's hit post and see what we get as the result. ASDF is taken. It work. Let's try again. ASDF. Let's delete. Okay, it's working. ASDF is gone. Let's again try with test. Test is gone. So this endpoint is working. Now let's head over back to our endpoints, API endpoints. Let's create a new one. So let's copy this one and call it delete contact.ts. So let's make changes to this. So we'll have to send category ID also and contact ID. Contact ID, which will be a string. Okay. Const method, and instead of category ID, I'll send contact ID. Contact ID. Okay. Deleted. Let's call it contact. Contact. Okay, so we've created this. Let's go back to contact and we'll create a function for it. So right here on click function handle delete contact with contact dot id. Now we'll have to create this. So let's go here, add contact, name this also. So now here delete contact. So now it's created. The async function, it will receive a contact ID, which will be a string, and then const deleted contact await delete. I think I didn't rename it. Yeah, should be delete contact. Save this. Delete contact. You have to send in category ID and also contact ID. Then we're getting an error because it can be undefined. So we could do this category ID return. You could also, if you don't want to do this, you could also give an exclamation. Either way works fine. I'll go with this. So now I can set category to the one which I'm receiving. So deleted contact. Okay, now let's check whether it's working. I don't need this anymore. Let's delete test3. Okay, everything got deleted. That's weird. Let's see what the mistake is. Let's open the DevTools and see what the problem is. So let's go to network, reload this. I delete it. Okay, I'm making a request showing me success. Okay, I'm sending only contact ID. Should be a category ID as well. And what about the response? Null. Okay. So let's see. I might have done something wrong here. Okay. Okay, got it. So it's basically because I'm not mentioning the category ID here, and I think it is contact. Save that, and this was it, right? Let me check. Yeah, this was it. Now let us see. So now I delete. Okay, now it's working. Good. So I think now everything works. Let's go with let's say Francis. I give heavy weight and I hit add. Okay, and I can delete. Fine. Let's go to the main page. Okay, here it's showing contacts is 0. Let's change that. Let's go to contact and it's not the context. Add category. Add category. Okay, contacts. It should be contacts. Each category. Category. Okay, contact 0. You can just pass in the length of it. So contacts dot length. Contacts. So we have 2 here. 2. Let me create one. Say let's change the title to scientist. I hit change scientist. Say Andrew Huberman. I hit 777. Hit 88. New sign. Forgive me for the bad spelling. Add Andrew Huberman. Go back. This one contact. You can delete also. You can view. So if all the functionalities are working, you can add new categories. So say pro grammars. Okay, so basically everything works. We just check whether I'm missing out something. Okay, so I think the dependency variable also will have it. Just category ID. That's all. The break anything? So everything works. So that's it. With that, I think we've completed the series. If you've stuck till the end, thank you very much. If you got something out of this series, that makes me very happy. At the very least, I hope it cured your insomnia. Thank you.